everyone, thanks for continuing to be here. I know that everyone's pretty hungry by now, so I'm going to keep my introduction short. I find the interconnectivity of all of our work to be quite remarkable. And I bring that up because, as most of you, or many of you are aware, during the pandemic, Music Policy Forum developed a program called Reopening Every Venue Safely, which served to do just that, and that's one of the programs that I'm most proud of. At the same time, across the country, as you all are aware, venues were organizing, and they created an organization called the National Independent Venue Association, which was absolutely critical in saving our stages we're on right now. So it is my honor to introduce Stephen Parker, the Executive Director of NIVA. Please join us. Thank you.
Thank you. I was not expecting an introduction. That's awesome. All right, I'm the one thing standing between you and lunch. I have a timer. I'm gonna try to. I'm told I have 15 minutes. I'm gonna shorten it. I promise. Okay. First of all, what a community that Michael Bracey has built. Listen, you don't just form an organization in a couple of weeks and lobby Congress for the largest arts investment in U.S. history, of which I can't take any credit. It is all the people that came before me and founded this organization. Without the years of work that Michael Bracey and so many others that have been a part of this community that have basically laid the groundwork for us to say that music policy is something and that Congress needed to take it seriously and save an entire ecosystem, and they did because of this work, so thank you. We already heard the story of NIVA, but, and I think you can tell from some of the comments yesterday that I shared and others shared, you know, we celebrate the fact that we saved the stages. But for many, it's really we saved our stages for now. We are seeing a lot of live entertainment coming back, but we're also seeing a lot of live entertainment, particularly small stages, where the conditions that were threatening them before the pandemic are exacerbated now. We are seeing threats everywhere, and I made a list as I was sitting down there a minute ago. These are just the threats that are outside the venue. Parking is a threat, or lack thereof. Extreme weather, inflation, restrictive sound ordinances, workforce shortages, safety everywhere. The cost of insurance, restrictive alcohol regulations, development, lack of inclusive development particularly, and the entire economic model of live entertainment. It should not be as hard as it is for small stages to keep their doors open. If you go ask, if literally you were to walk down the street and ask a venue owner that existed before the pandemic that reopened after what their profit's gonna be this year, it's likely going to be close to zero or a negative number. Competition is a huge threat. And it's not competition amongst ourselves. It's competition from people who look at their stock ticker before they look at the fans. We have a lot to do to tell our story. We have a lot to do to collect data. But let me just say this. The one thing that I want this incredible Cascadia region to understand is that we are here to help. And we have chapter leaders that are here today for our organization and were there yesterday. We have a Pacific Northwest chapter with leaders in Seattle and Portland. We have a mountain chapter with leaders here in Boise. And we have chapter leaders in Alaska. We have members everywhere who are not just fighting to keep venues open, but fighting to keep the ecosystem intact. And so we encourage you to connect with them. This next thing that I would just say is that if you are a festival, a promoter, if you have a venue, nonprofit, for-profit, government run, please join us. We need you. We need as many members of this community as possible. And over the next year, we're going to be rolling out things that are going to make your lives easier and hopefully make it cheaper for you to do business. So I like the frame this morning of what was put out, which is what are the action steps? And the action steps that we see this year collectively for all of us, but particularly for NIVA, are the following. Our focus this year, set by our president and our board, is to do three things. To further help the survival of independent venues, promoters, and festivals through boosting member value, advocacy and policy, and then bringing people together through things like our conference. So let's start with how we make lives easier for all of you and venues in the entire ecosystem. First, we are going to use our collective buying power to make sure that we are getting the cheapest rates for everything we can. This year, we're going to start, in Q1 of next year, we're going to start with making food cheaper for venues, making cleaning supplies cheaper for venues, and making barware and disposables and servingware cheaper for venues. And you may say, why that? And we polled our members, we surveyed our members, we got hundreds of responses from our very busy members, and all of them said that those were the three things that they buy every day. Doing the small things like making life easier for them and saving them money every day, even if it is a little bit, is worth it and worthwhile to them. The second thing to boost member value is that we need to use our platform, and we're going to need your help. If you are a tourism director in this room, if you are on a music commission, we need your help to elevate the importance of going to and using your dollars at independent venues. We are in a town that has chosen to make themselves a music city. That's all that it takes. We choose to be a music city. We choose to be a live entertainment city. It can be an aspirational goal, but it doesn't mean that you have to wait to say it. I spent a lot of time in Nashville, and I've talked to a lot of advocates there, and I think Nashville does a wonderful job taking care of their music community, but sometimes, like in any community, the artists and some of the venues feel like they don't have the attention of everyone they need. And so we've talked about how do we get the attention of everybody in Nashville to show how important the music community is. And my suggestion to them was shut down Broadway, which is the main stretch of bars and music venues in the center of Nashville, where tourists and locals alike go to hear music. And the response was we would have bachelorette parties running around going crazy without their venues. So that may not be the solution. That may not be the solution. But do your part to make sure that people know the value that you bring to your community, especially if you're here in this region where this corridor now exists. As we talk about advocacy and policy, I don't need to stand up here and repeat what this panel just said. The government needs to do more. The government needs to do more, not just for nonprofit arts communities and venues. They need to do more for the entire ecosystem. Government aid should be tax status blind. And it's a hard thing to change because this is a trend that started at the top. This is how the federal government set up how they serve the arts community. As I said to several people yesterday, I can't think of a single sector where the federal government has said we're going to ignore most of a specific sector because of their tax status. The Shutter Venue Operators Grant changed that. That is an example that you can use and take into every single federal, state, and local elected official that you're meeting with and saying, enough is enough. Look at us as an entire sector. Please. We are working at the federal level to resolve ticketing issues, particularly in the secondary market. The secondary market is price gouging consumers every day. They are setting up deceptive websites, they are setting up deceptive marketing, and they are making sure that they are benefiting, artists are not, venues are not, and consumers are paying more. On Wednesday, the House passed a bill that we've been working on for more than a year and a half to ban deceptive websites and marketing, to ban fake tickets, speculative tickets, which is a huge problem. Every day, people are showing up to venues with tickets that are fake. And making it so that transparency in pricing is required from the beginning of the transaction until the end of the transaction. Yesterday, the Senate introduced a bill that would go even further than all those things. There has not been comprehensive ticketing legislation ever in congressional history. In the last 3 days, we've seen a bill pass out of committee and a bill introduced. That's huge. And it's because of the communities that came to the table that just aren't NIVA. We have artists at the table. We have nonprofits at the table. We have for-profits at the table. We have independent ticketing companies at the table. We have managers and agents. We all have to push for this. And also, we know that at least half of states this year are going to see terrible bills. They're going to take ticketing backwards. So you, please, help us look out for these bills so that we can kill them, so that we don't take venues and artists backwards. Every dollar that is paid for a show should go into the pockets of those people who have skin in the game to put on that show, particularly artists. So the last thing I'll just say is on advocacy and policy is that there are so many issues. That whole list of issues I talked about, from parking to overdevelopment, these are all issues that we're a 3.5-year-old organization, and we are trying to figure out how we support communities as they do this. But we also need your help to make sure that we're seeing everything that happens, and so that you can tell us what you need and the tools that you need to advocate at the local level. And then the last thing, I'm going to finish 5 minutes early. I'm going to get through it. I'm about there. I have 30 seconds left. The last thing I'll say is we have a conference in New Orleans. It's going to be incredible. And listen, from a policy perspective, like, you can't beat the conversations that we've had the last 2 days. This is an industry conference, and advocacy is a track, but so is operations and marketing and ticketing. And we would love for any of you all to be there. You do not have to be a venue. You have to love music. You have to care about policy. You have to care about making sure the entire ecosystem exists so that venues can keep their doors open, and vice versa. And we would love to have you June 2nd through 5th. There's more information on our website. And then the last thing I would just say is I'm available. I have to fly out in a few minutes, but it's been wonderful to meet all of you. You can find my email on our website, and I would be happy to meet with anybody here at any point to talk about how we can advance this entire ecosystem forward in communities across the country. Thank you to Michael for letting me be here. Thank you to the board of the Music Policy Forum, and thank you all for being here and listening to me for the last 10 minutes.
Okay, Stephen said it. He was the one person standing in between you and lunch. So, but thank you, Stephen. Really appreciate that, and have a safe flight home. I think we have about 45 minutes back at 125. You've got 8th Street right over this way. You have the Bass Block over here. Within a block or two, you have probably 50, 60 lunch options. So I'll let you all explore and find something you like. See you soon.